Aloha, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I have the amazing, our analyst, Alessandra Thompson, joining us today for a special podcast. It's us two sitting down, and we're just going to talk about, we're rounding out 2021, and so many awesome things happened this year. One of them being getting to meet Alessandra on Clubhouse and having her come work with us here at Yarusi Holdings. So, Alessandra.
Hello, and thank you for having me on the show. I am grateful to be here.
Awesome. So I think I've talked about on the podcast how we met. So Clubhouse was huge this time last year, especially I think we joined, I think Jason and I joined back in November, but didn't get active until December-ish. And then jumping into 2021, it was I could not be.
Yeah, I haven't been on, well, ever since I started, I feel like it was a lot smaller. So the rooms were smaller and you're able to just get on there and be more present, ask the questions that you wanted to ask in smaller rooms. And now it's overflowing with people that I feel like if you were there from the start, it was a lot easier to just connect with people. And I don't think I would have been in the position that I'm in right now without doing that. So,
but the rooms, and they're still good today. You can still get into a smaller room, intimate setting. But I feel like those rooms, I feel like I went from room to room. And the great thing, I would jump into these real estate rooms and I jump in and all of a sudden I would see you there, or I would jump in and you'd be there and I'd be like, you got to come up. Yeah. So describe to everyone how we sort of met on Clubhouse. And then, let's just start there.
So I saw you in the Women in Real Estate room, and you were always talking about mindset, which is something that a lot of people, I think, don't realize is 80% of just taking action. And so when I saw you and just heard you on the platform, I was immediately drawn to you of how we're capable of just achieving the things that we put our minds to. And so I followed you, and then I kept seeing your name pop up, and I just kept following you into rooms because I would get a notification, and you would always bring me up on stage, and I'd always ask some random question about multifamily or real estate, or just having the courage to jump in, or being comfortable with not really knowing what I don't know. And you always just followed through, and it immediately made me feel better. So I just always wanted to reach out to you. And then I finally got a link to your calendar, and I got 3 weeks out. I was just so excited for the meeting.
I remember that because I remember seeing your name. I'm like, it's Alessandra. I kept on trying to find time to get you in there earlier, and finally the day came, and it was fantastic. We had the best conversation, which is one-on-one conversation. And I remember back in Clubhouse, those early days of Clubhouse, being in the room and seeing you there and just being this amazing entrepreneur needs to come up on stage, because those rooms were all about promoting women's thoughts. It was women in real estate, and it was bringing together the minds of women around real estate and how we can promote and just push each other to the forefront. So every time I saw you, I was super excited because you asked thoughtful questions, and you seemed to be in this place where you wanted to learn, you wanted to grow, you wanted to become the amazing person that you could be, that you are, that I don't know. It was just there was a light there that was just so amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to learn so badly. I would just wait, because sometimes you'd have to wait for an hour just for your name after you raise your hand to go up there. And I would just spend I think days on Clubhouse trying to just get my question answered, even though I could Google it, but it's different when you could just have that one-on-one conversation. I think it's kind of similar to having a mentor or being in a program where you're able to bounce off your questions that you need to be. And it's a team sport. So being able to just do that together versus just researching on your own is super helpful for networking.
And the thing is, I want to, if for anyone out there that thinks that Jason and I taught Alessandra everything she knows, is not true. Because the reason, one of the huge reasons that we wanted to work with you was because you were already doing your own research. You were already seeing what underwriting was about, what large multifamily was about. You were always researching, you were always going there and figuring out how to do this. So let's jump to today. You're sitting here on our podcast in front of Jason's desk at our computer, and it's been awesome. But I want to know from you, what have you learned in this year, and how does 2022 look to you?
I have learned so much information. Yesterday, I went on to a property and I was able to meet with like 5 separate contractors, and I was able to go and articulate exactly what I needed to get done. And if they gave me something back, I felt so confident in myself that I couldn't believe that I was able to just talk about certain asset management, like the AC or the mold and stuff like that. And I even like talked to my family and I was like, I can figure this whole thing out. And I know I kind of understand it exactly what I'm looking at now. And it just felt so, I don't even know, rewarding, because I was able to just, a couple months ago, I didn't know any of this stuff. Same as the underwriting. Like when you look at all these numbers and you're dealing with all these loans and these lenders and you're trying to understand what they're saying. And now after a couple of months of just putting in the work and being okay to fail and being okay to not understand right away has just been the most rewarding experience. I think in 2022, I will, I'm still learning so much. I still learn something new every day, and I still catch myself asking a million questions to both you and Jason. So I think 2022, I'm just going to double down in my learning and also want to be able to bring properties and raise capital to more deals. So yeah.
Those are epic goals. And you know what I say about goals? You have that vision, you set that goal. So what are going to be those action steps that you're going to take to get to that goal of raising more capital or bringing in more deals? And how are you going to get there?
I think for raising capital, one of my weaknesses is probably putting myself out there onto a platform. And that is something that I'm really working on. Before it was a slow process, but now I'm actively posting. I'm getting a lot of on podcasts. And I think that just being able to speak to people, getting on phone calls, having those one-on-ones, educating those around me of what I do and why this is a good opportunity for you as a human and for your finances, I think has started to work over time, even though that's the thing, it takes time. And so just being consistent with that would be helpful. And then, yeah, just educating those around me.
Yeah, well, that's all that it's about, right? I was just talking to Stephanie Walters just a moment ago, and we were talking about how like making that connection and then turning that connection into you being able to educate and then to provide and then creating that partnership. It's like stacking, right?
Yeah.
So let's take it like one step further. How are you going to take those goals into 2022? And what does it look like for you to succeed? Like, what is success to you?
That's a good question, because sometimes I think about it and there are times where I'm like, when will I be happy with my success? And I think that have to really step back and be like, in my present moment, I am happy with my success. Because I think that if I were going too fast, or if I was just trying to get to the finish line, I wouldn't fully understand everything that goes into it. It's kind of the same way as like when you have a property and it's running too smooth, that you're just like, well, that's not realistic enough. So I think just going through those obstacles and loopholes of the everyday life, I think is just being present in my moment. But success looks like to me is just growing with the team that I'm working with. I love working here. I love learning new things every day. So I'm still figuring out the answer to that question.
I kind of put you on the spot. I guess what I really want to get to is I'm super excited about this because I want you to tell our listeners what's going to happen in January. What do you
kind of thought that that's what we were leaning into. Mm-hmm. So I will be hosting like a 6-part podcast and also starting a meetup in Nashville specifically for multifamily, just so we can pull together people that are in the same space.
So tease us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about during this 6-part podcast.
I would like to just mostly discuss like what happens after you get the deal. I feel like a lot of times we hear about the stories that people have, how they've gotten to where they are, which I think is amazing and always inspiring, but they often get to the point where like, okay, I'm at the deal, I got the deal, but then now what? So like, what is that? How are you talking to the lenders and the property managers? What does it look like to do the entire asset management cycle, exiting the property? I think that would just be getting down into the nitty gritty and talking to people that are more experienced in that sense to just understand fully what goes into it.
I love it. So she's going to dig into the asset management aspect. She's going to get into the nitty gritty with everyone. So please, please, please do not miss this into going into 2022 with Alessandra Thompson. She's going to be here on Multifamily Live, and she's going to share the 6-week part, whatever you want to call it, podcast with you. Super exciting. Before we let our audience go, let our listeners go, do you have any like tidbit of information that can take them forward in this day?
I would say, I think that one of the things that has helped me the most is just finding other people that are doing what you want to be doing and partner up. There are a lot of people that want to get to X or Y and they don't realize that the other person is also doing that, and it's a team sport. So I think just partnering up with others would be the fastest way to get to your success.
Fantastic. So thank you, Alessandra, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And to everyone that's listening today, thank you so, so very much. Super grateful. If you love what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe. It would mean the world to me, and it would mean even more to Alessandra. Thank you so much.
Thank
Aloha.
you.